Hello, this is TurboDog702 with the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Any Percent tutorial. In this section, I will be covering some of the more intermediate mechanics for the character Richter inside of the game. While you play Richter for only a certain amount of time in the game, a very short amount, it is important to cover some of these mechanics if you would like to play at a high level. It is also important to learn all of these mechanics if you are looking at competing in the Any Percent Richter mode of this game. Some of these may seem a little bit daunting at first, as Richter is a very execution-heavy character. I cover many of the basic mechanics of the character and how to do many of his moves inside of a previous video, which you should find. But for now, we will be covering some of the intermediate techniques. I am not a Richter player by any stretch of the means, so you will have to forgive me if it takes me a little bit more time in order to execute some of these. The things that I will be covering in this tutorial, by the way, are the ideas of air slash versus the ground slash version and the amount of lag in between the two. Directional influence of gravity boots so that you can move further left or right while you're doing it. Slide kicking into a backflip, and the idea of damage stacking. Alright, so this is Richter. I'm doing it right now inside of the prologue to make it a little bit easier. You recall that I mentioned that Richter has the ability to air slash both on the ground, or blade slash I guess it should be called, on the ground and in the air. There are differences between these moves, and probably the most relevant one that you should keep in mind is that there is a much bigger amount of time in between when you complete a ground slash to when you can do the next one, and when you do an air slash to when you can do the next one. I'll try to illustrate these as best I can in this area, but you'll just have to kind of take my word for it. If I do air slashes, you'll notice that I can do them in very rapid succession to one another. Whoops. Unless I screw up. See? So you can basically do them immediately one after the other, and it's a very quick way in order to get from place to place. However, if I do it on the ground, it actually takes me a significant portion of time in order to be able to blade dash again. Pretty much it takes for Richter to stop his animation where he slides on the ground there before you can do the next one. Yeah, see, I'm doing it very, very late, and it's still not allowing me to do it. So, yeah. So there's a huge difference in lag between the two. And again, in order to contrast it, you can easily do air slashes very, very quickly. So that's a big difference between Richter and the intermediate level. Another thing that's important to note is that Richter actually can change his trajectory during a gravity boots jump, the down-up jump spell, very slightly if you hold a direction when he's doing it. So for example, if I stand in front of this pillar, I'm just going to go down, up, and jump. Okay, boom. I fall there, which is about midway on the first pillar. Now I'm going to actually hold forward as he gravity jumps. See how much of a difference that is? It is a huge difference. And some of that might have been because maybe when I was falling I was holding forward, but that's a significant portion of distance that you're changing up. I'm actually not aware if holding back does anything. Yeah, I imagine not. But if you do hold forward, you are able to move a lot more than if you just do the down, up, and jump. So that's another major mechanic. That becomes important if you're trying to do one of the faster setups for the intro. One of the other things that I figure I should cover is known as the slide kick to backflip. If you remember from my previous video, you can hold down and jump and slide on the ground. Now, if you press X again while you're sliding, you can vault into the air. During this vault, Richter does damage to people and everything else, but he actually can run into things. His slide can break items, as I'll try to illustrate here for a second. Ugh. maybe not. It's kind of hard to aim. Okay, well, know that Richter's slide can break things. I'm just bad at it. But it's much easier for him to break things with the vault kick. But when he vault kicks, he, like... Sometimes you want to stop your momentum. Basically what you can do is when you slide and vault kick, you can do the backflip move off of items when you hit them. In order to do this, during the vault kick, you hold down the whip button, and he'll do a back kick after, or a backflip afterwards. I'll try to do it here to illustrate. See? And that allows him to backflip out of it. So in order to do that, you do the vault kick, and once you hit and hold whip as you're doing it. And you should be able to backflip off of things. Now, why is this important? Well, at certain places, it's actually beneficial to bounce off of things so that you can start your air slash quicker. So you can do something like this, except without the whip. That backflip allows you to air slash inside the air, which I mentioned inside the basic tutorial, how you're considered aerial during a backflip. You can also use it to kill your backflip momentum with a normal whip attack, so that you can move forward faster, which will become a big part of how I actually do the intro. The last thing that I'm going to try to cover inside of this is going to be damage stacking. I don't fully understand how damage stacking works inside of this game, but it has to do with overlapping the frames that you do damage with different types of damage. In this case, for the intro, I am going to be using the Hydra Storm, which is the weapon crash for the Holy Water special weapon, and Holy Water itself, the actual sub-weapon. By stacking the damage, I'll be able to kill Dracula much, much faster, and this applies to all enemies in the games. So I'm going to try to get it off. It'll either happen on the first or second form of Dracula, and I'll try to point it out when it happens. So I'm going to get into the Dracula fight, I'm going to skip the dialogue, and I'm going to pick up Holy Water here at the end. So I guess I can illustrate first how much damage Hydra Storm does on its own. Okay. So it'll kill Dracula, but notice how slow that is. Now, if I do Hydra Storm on the second form, that's about how much damage it does to him if I just hit the Hydra Storm. Now let me throw Holy Water also. Notice how pathetic the damage is on that just normally. So normally, even if you combined the two of those, there's no way they'd be able to kill this guy or get him reasonably close to death. However, if you use the damage stacking method that I was talking about before, you can actually end up killing him much, much, much faster. And that's important for the any % run. So let me see if I can hit this. Okay, so I missed it on the first form. That time I hit it. Notice how much faster he was dying from that, and he actually took significantly more damage than either of the abilities on their own. Being able to stack damage like this is an important part of even the any % run, and once you get to a high level on the Richter run, it becomes important as well. Let's see if I can get it on the first form here. I don't think I'm going to, though. There we go. On that time, I got the quick kill on the first form, missed it on the first Holy Water of the second form, but hit it on the third one. Or rather, the second Holy Water on the second form. So that's a good idea that you don't necessarily have to hit all of them in order to get the damage stacking on one of them. But you do want to try to get damage stacking on everything. The most important thing to note about this, as far as the intro is concerned, although I might be getting a little too far into the any % route, is you have to be able to do this damage stacking on the second form for at least one of the Holy Waters. But I figure that's it for the intermediate mechanics tutorial for Richter, and I've gone a little bit actually into its use inside of the any % route. I will be covering some different methods that people use in order to get the damage stacking timing on the Dracula first and second forms, but I will be covering that in the actual run itself. So stay tuned for that. This is TurboDog702 for the Castlevania Symphony of the Night any % tutorial.